Secret tunnel, secret tunnel, secret tunnel. Welcome to Swords to Podcast. Blamio Hotman. Yes, that's the plural. Welcome to another episode of Swords to Podcast. My name is Thomas.
And my name is Adam. Today we have a very special episode for you. We are going to be talking you through a quick pre-release guide. We're going to be talking about bending, we're going to be talking about archetypes, and then Thomas and I also have a few cards apiece to talk about that we're hoping to see on pre-release night.
Yes, sir. So how about we go ahead and get started and just talk about what to expect in a pre-release kit for this set.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there are 5 that you can choose from, and they're each centered around an avatar character. So you're going to have Zuko, which is red, Aang, which is white, Katara, which is blue, Toph, green, and Azula is black. And each one of your pre-release kits is going to come with 5 regular play boosters and 1 seeded booster, which is centered around your chosen character, as well as a really nice looking die. I don't know. I always get that mixed up. But these are the 5 characters, and the one thing that I'm a little I don't know if I want to say excited, maybe worried. It's all centered around this one color, and I hope that doesn't mean that every single card in your seeded pack is that color. I am leaning towards it will be all towards one color, because that's kind of what they made it sound like. So I'm not sure what to expect there. But Adam, how about we start with this? Who are you choosing first?
I didn't know you were going to be asking me.
Well, it's an on-the-spot decision here. You're going to get up to the counter. You're going to get up to the counter, and they're going to say, who do you want?
On the spot, I'm probably going to choose Zuko, just to be honest with you. Okay. Because, so, the thing that we know, so with these seeded packs, these seeded packs in each of the colors, it's different than what we had with, for example, Tarkir Dragonstorm. That's the only other set that I'm aware of that had seeded packs, and those were seeded for a clan. Oh, Ravnica had those as well?
Yeah, I'm sure they've done more too. That's just the last one I can think of. So
yeah. Well, so I mean, I guess that sort of furthers my point. Like, those packs were seeded for multiple colors, so they had a lot of cards with, the stamp of the guild or the Tarkir clan on the card. So like, it's interesting to see seeded packs in single color. So I guess we don't.
Allegedly.
I think it would be odd to have all the cards be that one color.
That's where I was at too, yeah.
So they might be, obviously, like I think you said earlier, seeded around the character. So like, you could in the Toph one, for example, you might be able to pull one of the Tophs that is multiple colors or something like that. I think that would be interesting. But I think as far as from the cards that I've seen and how I think it'll fare on the pre-release, I'm gonna go with Zuko.
Yeah, I'll say is each one of these face characters does have a 3-color card in the set, so maybe that's where it is. So I know, Toph is Naya, so maybe you could pull the white or red cards, but I honestly doubt it. I think they're just going to go all one color, which is going to make it a little interesting, probably a little difficult, because you're going to be really forced to go down that path, but we'll see how it goes. Zuko's a good choice. Big surprise who I'm going to pick, right? Toph is my number 1. She's my girl, so...
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and get into one more time as a refresher what all the bending is. And the one thing, so Adam, you can go ahead and take us through that, but the one thing I want to say before is there's 5 packs you can choose, but there's 4 bending, right? And the 4 colors make sense. Then the one that's kind of the oddball is black, right? And I know that, the bending goes across different colors, but I don't know. That's just my thought. I don't know if you had anything to say on that before we actually go in on the quick refresher on the bending. What do you think, Adam?
Well, I mean, multiple characters have multiple different types of bending. Especially Aang, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think the bendings, I think from what we've seen in spoilers, is that bendings aren't going to necessarily follow colors perfectly, because we're seeing fire bending on black cards and all kinds of different things. So I think they are, like I said, I think they're going to follow colors a little bit, but I don't think that you should go into a color specifically for the bending purpose of that color. I think you should go into that color based on, I guess, just how well all of the cards are. Totally. You can consider the bending, but I think the bending is just another mechanic that you want to kind of give as much credit as all the other ones, regardless of if they have like actual names or reminder text or whatever.
Anyway, going into the bending, not that you have to choose, you will definitely get a lot more cards, like depending on which box you choose. But what are you thinking about each of the four bending just in a limited environment, Adam? So you want a quick refresh on what each one is, and then how you think it'll fare in limited?
Sure. Yeah. So, according to the magic.wizards.com, firebending is a keyword that always includes a number. Whenever a creature you control with firebending attacks, you add that much red mana. You don't lose this mana during that combat. Any of this mana you still have as combat ends will be lost. You won't have it during your second main phase. Airbending, according to the website, is a keyword action. To airbend a permanent or spell, you exile it. As long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it by paying 2 generic mana rather than paying its mana cost. This still follows timing restrictions, so if you airbend a creature, you can only cast it during a main phase, or if the creature has flash, then obviously you could cast it with flash. Waterbending is a cost and always includes an amount of mana that must be paid somehow. Waterbend cost can appear as an additional cost to cast a spell as part of an ability's activation cost or anywhere else you might be asked to pay mana. To pay a waterbend cost, you can always just pay the requested mana. However, for each one generic in that cost, you can tap an untapped artifact or creature you control rather than pay that mana. If you choose to tap a creature to help pay a waterbend cost, it can be one that just came under your control that turn. Pretty important. So you can cast a creature and then immediately tap it to waterbend, a lot like I think improvise and convoke and things like that. Let's see. Earthbending is another keyword action that includes a number. When you earthbend, choose target land you control. As the earthbend ability resolves, that land becomes a 0/0 creature with haste, that's still a land. Then you put 1/1 +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the earthbend number. Because the new creature land will have haste, you can feel free to earthbend lands that you just played, and there is no summoning sickness in Ba Sing Se.
That's a fun little thing that they added there.
Yeah, I love that. Personally, I think the strongest mechanic in the limited environment. I had to go back on what I said, but I think it's going to be waterbending. Um, a lot of the waterbending abilities are able to be activated at instant speed, so that allows for a lot of trickery and kind of lets you bluff certain things. Like for example, the one this North Pole Patrol that's on that's one of the spoiled cards. It's also on the Wizards of the Coast website. Has Waterbend 3 generic and tap target creature and opponent controls. You can hold this, and this creature also allows you to tap to untap another target permanent you control. So you can hold this creature up untapped, and then you can either use it to untap a land and cast a combat trick or a kill spell or something, or you can later, if your opponent has a huge creature, you can waterbend and use the ability to tap down their huge creature in response to them moving to combat. So there's so much trickery that you can do with it. And while I think firebending is really strong, and that's definitely my second favorite one in limited, I think the timing restriction on the mana is so rough. Like there's just, having to play worse instant speed cards feels bad. And you're going to be cutting slightly better cards for slightly worse ones just because you can cast them with firebending mana, and I just don't see that being a fortuitous strategy. Maybe maybe I'll lose a bunch of games to firebending and I'll eat my words, but that kind of remains to be seen. So waterbending is my pick. What about you, Thomas?
Well, so the way that I'm looking at it is from like a different lens, I would say. I'm looking at it in terms of flexibility. So I would have to agree putting waterbending on top from a flexibility standpoint because there's just so much you can do, and I think that's one of the most important things in limited is being able to be flexible and adapt. If we're going down the list, what I would put second is airbending in terms of flexibility because you can exile their stuff, exile your stuff, protect it, get your ETB triggers, whatever it may be. And then if we keep going, I'm actually going to put earthbending third because it gives you creatures. We'll see a little later that the 1/1 counters can be cool. There's a lot I think you can do with earthbending, and I think the firebending, just like what you said, is the least flexible because it kind of puts you in a hole where you have to build around that, unless you are lucky enough to pull one of the, I want to say it's like two or three cards. It's very few that actually don't make you lose the mana. As phases ends, you get to at least keep the mana that you firebend. And I think that's where what we're gonna see is if people are going down the route with firebending, it's gonna be, I don't want to call it predictable. It's gonna be powerful, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely kind of limiting what you can do. It's so funny for
Hmm.
limited, right? So me personally, I don't think I would build waterbending because I do like having a game plan, but I like it to be more flexible. So that's why I'm kind of looking more at maybe earthbending or airbending, just under that scope. So
Yeah. I the problem with I think so for example, I kind of have airbending last, simply because it's not great as removal and it's not great at getting you extra value from your stuff. Um, Obviously there are plenty of ETBs and cast triggers on cards in this set. We've seen plenty of them, all throughout spoiler season. But I don't think it's enough to where I would want to airbend things. I wouldn't want to pay mana to, or did I say earthbend?
airbend, you said
I
airbend, I
think
think.
airbend. Airbend. Okay, just making sure. I don't know if I would be willing to, like, first you have to invest in something with a good ETB or good cast trigger. Then
Ring
you
of the
have to invest mana.
Crossroads.
Then
Sorry,
you
I'm
have
just
to
remembering
invest
back to our
mana.
last episode.
Oh yeah. Then you have to invest mana to airbend it, and then you have to invest mana to recast it. So like I don't know if there are enough ETB triggers or cast triggers that would be good enough to warrant that.
Mhm.
And the flip side of having to, or of using it as removal on your opponent's stuff is just not great. Like
Yeah.
it typically costs more than one mana or more than two mana to earthbend some, or to airbend one of your opponent's things. And so they're just gonna, you're wasting a card, and then all they have to do is pay two mana to get back the thing that you removed.
Yeah.
I think there's tricky things and you can get around keywords with it, but I don't find it good enough. And the only reason that earthbend isn't higher than firebending on my list is because earthbending, you typically pay a pretty decent or standard rate for the earthbending you're doing. Like, you'll pay if you're going to earthbend 4, you'll probably be paying around 4 mana for it. Like, you rarely get earthbend 3 for 2 mana. So you're rarely going to get an additional power and toughness beyond the 1-for-1 rate that we're so used to seeing on cards. And so that's why I don't think it's as good. Like, yeah, it's nice getting the land back so you're not really down a card, but most of the cards that earthbend only do it once. So you're not breaking crazy parity on it. But I definitely see where you're coming from. I think earthbending is going to be very valid, and I think being able to drop a creature with haste is uh, pretty important.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the one thing I want to say before we move on just about the airbending too is definitely timing is going to play a big part of it, because you're right, it's for removal, it's really not great. They can just pay two, but if you're doing it during combat, hey, if you get firebending mana and can afford to airbend something and then they lose it during, lose an attacker. So there's certain things where I think it's gonna stick out. And yeah, having to pay two to get more ETBs isn't the best, depending on what you're I don't want to call it blinking, because that's not exactly what it is, obviously, but you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. I think with all of them, it's really just going to depend on what you get to kind of support the rest of the deck. And one thing I think we'll see is that they're going to play really fun together by combining them. I think airbending and earthbending, now that I'm just kind of saying it out loud, sounds really cool. Airbending and firebending sounds really cool. There's going to be some cool little combos that people dig out of their packs. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited just to see the cards that I have.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen so many spoilers, and I've seen a million cards. Pretty much every day I see multiple new ones that I haven't seen before, and people are talking about this and talking about that, and I just I want to open my packs and see what I get.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
Well, before we get into the cards that we're excited to maybe pull if we can, let's just go over the archetypes that they threw out. So these are draft archetypes, but it's the same. It's just limited. So there are obviously 10, and this is each two color pairing. And the one thing I think that it's a little interesting is that there are some overlaps as always, but I feel like more so in this set with the three colors, like I kind of mentioned earlier with some of those characters that are just in three colors on their best printing, right? So we're going to see that some of these are going to overlap pretty well. So we have Azorius, white blue is going to be flyers. Take to the skies with Aang and his friends. Gather a team of flyers to soar like an airbender. We have Demir, which is draw two, white and black. Hunt for knowledge using clues and other draw effects to trigger your second draw. Reward cards. The long game is yours. We have Rakdos, Fire Nation aggro, red black. Everything changes when the Fire Nation attacks. Be aggressive with firebending and burn it on extra effects. Then we have Earth Rumble Ramp, which is going to be Groll, green and red. Use Mana Ramp and Earthbending to create 4+ power creatures, then rack up the bonuses to claim the title belt. Allies, which is going to be Selesnya, green and white. World United is unstoppable. Play allies and generate tokens to go wide and hit your enemies hard from all sides. Adam, you want to take the second half of the list?
Sure. The other 5 draft archetypes are Sacrifice with Orzhov. Victory comes at a cost. Play small creatures and clues, and then gain the upper hand when you sacrifice them. Combat Lessons is It. Play creatures that care about casting non-creature spells with prowess. Then teach your foes a lesson with your martial prowess. +1/+1 counters is Golgari. Accrue power by any means. Stack up counters to gain bonuses and control the Earth Kingdom from within. Boros is Go Wide Aggro. Lead the rebellion with an army of allies and tokens that you can enhance for devastating attacks. Simic, our final one, is Ramp plus Lessons. Turn your knowledge into power. Ramp and draw cards to play big creatures while getting lessons into your graveyard.
Yeah. So the big things here, outside of the bending, the big mechanics that we're going to see here is going to be allies. We're going to have clue tokens, 1/1 counters, lessons, and I don't know if this really counts as mechanics, but you're going to have the big 4+ creatures, flyers. Those are the big ones, right? Did I miss anything, Adam? I think that's all.
Prowess, but that's about it.
Prowess, yeah. So, as you guys can see, a lot of these already kind of have some overlap. Fire Nation aggro, Go Wide aggro. So you can see how these can kind of pair together really, really well. I think we're going to see that a lot. That people are going to be splashing 3 colors because you kind of, I don't want to say you have to, but I feel like with a lot of the cards we're going to see, it's just going to make way too much sense. Mm-hmm. So, Adam, out of this 10, if you had to just stick with 2 colors, just your first look, what is sounding the best to you in limited?
Fire Nation aggro, baby! Everything changes when the Fire Nation attacks. That's me all day.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like you. Well, can you guess what I might pick as I think the strongest?
Earth Rumble Ramp.
Ooh. You need to remember what color I told you I love playing in limited. I play it almost every time.
Oh, really? You want go wide aggro?
Hell no, flyers. It's all about flying, dude. First of all, okay. For those of you that don't know, I am a big white support. Whoa,
pause. Wait, hey yo.
White. I am a big supporter of the whites. Oh, shit. Okay, how do I say this? Okay, let's collect ourselves. For those of you that don't know, white is your my favorite color.
Wait, hold on.
For those of you that don't know, I like to build my Magic the Gathering decks with the white colored cards.
There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
And I love to do it I love to do it in limited because I don't think a lot of people are really tapping into white. They look at white and they're like, oh, that color sucks. They're like, I want to play something good like blue or like red. Don't get me wrong, right? Aggro is pretty busted in limited, but it also has a tendency to kind of stall out early if you can't keep the engine going, right? And I feel like white is just super versatile and it can last you through games, and that's kind of been my experience. And going back to flyers, in limited, flying is pretty busted. That's just a general rule, right? So that's going to be my take. That's going to be my take on it.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I love playing aggro. I love having all the combat tricks and dealing a lot of damage super quick. Um, yeah, I do get it with white. I think a lot of players are used to white being kind of a mid color in casual formats like Commander, what a lot of people are most used to, and
Yeah,
so I don't want to say they immediately have an aversion to it, but they don't. White cards are very typically good in limited, but not in constructed. So people aren't used to looking for the upsides of some of the white cards that you see in these limited environments. And so
not like this guy.
I def yeah, I definitely think that there's something to be said about kind of flying under the radar. Get it, flyers?
Yeah.
But flying under the radar with picking cards that people don't on first glance think they're good because they're so used to evaluating cards in constructed formats. So
Yeah.
you definitely got something there, Thomas.
And I feel like a lot of people get distracted or their eyes get drawn to like the big bombs and the other colors when white is just a lot more, lower to the ground. Maybe not the flyers. They're flying above the ground. But white doesn't always have the big flashy bombs, and that's what I like about it too. Kind of going into your point where people just overlook it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had to pick a three color combo just off of this list, or just in general, just from what you know about the set, what do you think is going to pair well, or what you want to do? And don't pick the two aggros. That's way too easy. You got to think outside the box on this one.
Oh, I wasn't even gonna pick the two aggros. I'm gonna have to pick Fire Nation aggro and draw two, or I guess it would also be combat lessons and uh, yeah. So I would pick blue to add to my Rakdos to make Grixis because I think the best way to optimize your use of the firebending mana that you get with a lot of Rakdos cards is with waterbending. Funny enough, the best way to use firebending mana can sometimes be waterbending with it. Um, so I think that will be that, and also obviously you're talking about a lot of these aggro strategies tend to kind of spin their wheels if they start progressing into the mid game, and being able to draw extra cards with blue and being able to waterbend and keep and use those tricky waterbending abilities to benefit you during combat. I think that's going to be super super beneficial during my pre-release.
Yeah, that sounds scary. That definitely sounds scary. If I had to pick, I'm gonna go a little against the grain on this one. I know I said flyers. That's just what I think if I had to pick two. But if I had to make three colors, the one that's really standing out to me is allies. And I think this is going to be really dependent on the cards that you pull because there are some really strong cards that are allies or that do really cool things with allies. And I think that's going to be really fun to see. So this is really contingent, but if I had to pair that with something, I'm actually going to go with the 1/1 counters and throw in black. And I think that the 1/1 counters they like to be on creatures or lands, so having the green doubling up, get the earth bend, put the 1/1 counters on creatures, you get more creatures. They may not be allies, but the counters is gonna help with that. And you can even buff up your allies and whatever abilities they may have could kind of snowball. One thing I do want to say too is, since I'm already in those colors, sacrifice is something you have to be a little careful with in limited. Me and you both know that from our modern or Mystery Booster 2 draft from Magic Con. Or was that it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it kind of
Well, it
worked
was more recursion, but yeah.
yeah. Well, yours was the recursion, mine was the sacrifice. We kind of were a little disconnected, but at least we know the sacrifice kind of works as long as, you know, a hope and a prayer. That's all it really takes. But there's some cool splashy cards in here that I think would pair nice in these three colors. That's what I'll go. I will go with, what would that be? Black, green, white. Don't tell me I'm gonna know this one. No, I'm not. You're gonna have to help me with that. I always blank. Black, green, and white. What is that? Hmm. Abzan.
Abzan. Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got
Yep.
there. I got there. It just took me a second, but yeah, super exciting. I think that in a limited environment, this set is going to be so much fun, super flavorful, and I think it's going to play really, really well. And I'm really excited to do sealed as opposed to a draft. I probably drafted a little bit, but I think sealed is going to be so much fun. You can just see them all there, and just mix and match, throw some stuff around, and just see what happens. Oh, and the one thing
Yeah.
that's missing from the list, I did want to mention this, is shrines. If you want to go 5 colors, there are shrines in the set, and there's some shrine payoffs. You never know what you might pull, right?
That could be interesting.
Yeah. So let us move on to our last thing here. So me and Adam each went through and picked 5 cards. We have one in each rarity slot plus a wild card. So these are cards that we're hoping to pull specifically for this limited, not just to have, but specifically to be able to play in limited. So, Adam, you think I should go first since I think you already know what my common is? Maybe.
Up to you, man. Up
Hey,
to you.
I don't know if this is going to be a surprise to the viewers if you were around since day one, but you got to understand, it'll quench you.
It'll quench ya.
But in all seriousness, I think this is not even that bad, like for a common, because hey, counterspell unless they pay 2 and limited.
Not that bad. You're starting off by talking about this card and saying it's not that bad.
I'm saying because people,
Bro,
people
this
are
is
gonna
supposed
think,
to be the best common.
bro. People are thinking that people are gonna see that and think it's a joke. They'll be like, "Quench me? Like, what are you talking? Like, this is a quench, but it's even better because it'll quench you. You know what I mean?
It's the quenchiest.
I feel like the people know what I mean. Counterspells can be hit or miss in limited. For two mana counter unless they pay 2. I mean, with how few lands you will and how quick the game is going to be running, I feel like this is going to work pretty well. And at the common slot, I'll probably be able to snag at least 1 or 2. So it could be something could be something to throw in. What do you think, Adam?
I mean, that's totally fair. I've never had much success with counter spells, and I do like to play blue in limited as much as I can. Often I fall into the trap of blue is really good in commander, and I want to draw cards and I want to do big commander things, but it is limited. So suddenly I have 10 cards in my library, and I'm down in life total, and then I'm like, ooh. But I also just the counter spells that we see in limited environments typically aren't that efficient. So but I will say that this set is one where there's more tricky things. If you're in blue, you have ways to waterbend that mana away if you hold mana open and you don't get to use the counterspell.
Yes.
You can still use that mana for things. So I can maybe see where this card could see some more play, and you could really get people with this.
Hey, I'm with you. Blue is definitely a trap in limited. But come on, like, it'll quench you, right? It'll quench you.
Yeah, it'll quench ya.
All right, Adam, what do you got at common?
Oh man, this one is not super exciting, but I think this is a card that a lot of people are going to be after. So obviously, I wanted to go Grixis or I guess just Rakdos when you can, with my what I want to see on draft night. Not all of my cards fit into that category, but this is one that if I can get more than one copy of this, I will be so happy. This is Fire Nation Cadets. It's 1 red for a 1/2 human soldier, and it reads, this creature has Firebending 2 as long as there's a lesson card in your graveyard. So whenever it attacks, you add 2 red, and it only lasts throughout combat. And then you can pay 2 generic to give the creature +1/+0 until end of turn. So first things first. So 1/2 for 1 mana. Love it already. Good blocker. Comes down turn 1. You can swing in and probably peck and hit maybe 3 or 4 damage early game because they might not have a blocker turn 1, or they might only have a 1/1 on turn 1. So you can pretty consistently hit with this, and you can pretty consistently block with this early game. It's super easy to get lesson cards into your graveyard. A lot of the combat tricks that you want to be playing in these decks are going to be lessons, and it only requires 1, and then suddenly this 1 mana thing is making you 2 mana every turn. Come on. It also has built-in fire breathing, so if you don't have a way to immediately use that firebending mana, you can turn this Fire Nation Cadets into a 2/2 at minimum. Love that. And plus, obviously, the firebending or the fire breathing ability that it has, you can use it more than once a turn. So if you have extra firebending mana down the line, you can just pump it into this tiny little 1 mana creature and hit for an insane amount of damage. I think this card is going to be an all-star if I can pull a couple of them.
Definitely. That is a heavy hitter. Plus, you can always, if they don't assign blockers, then, pump it full and maybe hit lethal.
Yeah.
Feels like only upside there. Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like no downside to this card. It's insane.
Well, sticking on our mono red and fire bender train here, my uncommon So it's a little expensive, but I think that this is going to be a lot of fun if I can pull it. Combustion Man. So Combustion Man is
Ooh.
3 and 2 red for a 4/6 human assassin, and whenever Combustion Man attacks, destroy target permanent unless his controller has Combustion Man deal damage to them equal to his power. So this is pretty insane. Destroying permanents and limited is always good. I mean, it's only one, but it's every time he attacks, and he's a big 4/6 body. So the 6 toughness is already going to be hard to deal with because a lot of the stuff they're saying is power 4 or greater, and that means a lot of the creatures are just 4. Granted, you could have your Fire Nation cadets or whatever it is that pumps it up bigger or 1/1 counters, but I mean, if you can get this down and they don't really have a way to deal with it, you can just start knocking out permanents. It's gonna be pretty crazy. And the best part is every time you attack with it, you can do the that went through. Okay, I think that went through. You do the breath because he doesn't speak. Remember, he just does his breathe and then he like telekinesis firebend. So you can kind of do that every time. And I'm sure that'll kind of start getting in their head. Ooh, sounds like so much fun, so flavorful. Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. And especially in red, it's very hard to deal with just permanence in general and have some removal that's so flexible. I do like it. It's not perfectly costed at 5 mana for a 4/6. Like the
yeah,
ratio of power and toughness to mana cost is not, ideal. But this is something that, with 6 toughness, really the only way you're gonna realistically have this go away is with a destroy, is with like a
yeah.
kill spell, not something that deals damage. It's gonna be very hard to kill this. And if your opponent doesn't answer it immediately, it almost has pseudo unblockable because either they get rid of the permanent and then they take the damage, or sorry, they sacrifice the permanent, don't block, and take 4 from just combat, or they keep the permanent, take 4 anyway, and then if they have to block with a creature, it'll probably kill the creature. So like every time this attacks in, you're probably going to be taking something out on their board
Yeah.
and or doing damage, which awesome. This is going to be I hope I pull this card because it's going to be this card is exactly what you want to see
Exactly.
as far as like a late game mid game finisher.
All right, Adam. I know that you were excited about your uncommons. What do you got for us?
So my uncommon is in a color that is totally opposite of what I wanted to build, but I think this card is going to do some serious work. It is Fancy Footwork. This is 2 generic and a white for an instant lesson. Untap 1 or 2 target creatures. They each get +2/+2 until end of turn. This card is super versatile. You can use it to get extra mana or get extra untaps with things like water bending, and then get tricky with it like that, being able to untap. And this card represents such a huge swing. So you can use this offensively. Obviously, if you've got 2 creatures that are going to hit your opponent for 2 damage, and you can number 1 untap them, so you can hold up blockers, give them pseudo vigilance, and then you're adding 4 damage for 3 mana straight to an opponent. Awesome. But then also defensively, your opponent could be swinging in at you with everything because you have no creatures untapped, and you can untap 2 of them, make them bigger. It turns double blocks into single blocks, and you're still killing creatures for only 3 mana. And it's also a lesson, so it synergizes with all that stuff perfectly. It's not the most efficient combat trick, but it's pretty up there. And I think the untapping and the fact that you don't have to have 2 creatures to do this, like it's so there's no situation where you don't have enough targets for this. So I am such a fan of Fancy Footwork.
Yeah, that one definitely sounds like a big flex spell. 3 mana does sound a little like if you're holding it up on their turn, it does feel like a lot to hold up, depending on how
Mm-hmm.
late you are into the game for sure. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I didn't even think about the water bending part of it. So that is, I mean, when you think about it, it's like you're 3 mana into that spell to get 2 more creatures to tap, or and then you're losing one. But if you tap them and then maybe do the nah, I feel like if you're paying it for water
I
bending,
mean
you're
things with
losing.
water bending. Like I mean creatures with the water bending ability
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
tap.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I think paired with the red stuff, that could definitely be a hitter. And it's in white. I love
Hmm.
that. So, all right, yeah, that's cool.
Well, and really quick before we move on, the big thing with this card that I think sets it apart from other combat tricks that we see in limited all the time is that this card will always do something. So if you hold up a combat trick defensively, there's the chance that your opponent could do something about it, or they'll the combat trick won't be enough to kill a creature, or you have to sacrifice a creature or whatever. The amount of work that this card does, typically, if you're holding it up because you know your opponent's going to attack you next turn, obviously either they think you're bluffing and they attack you anyway, or they don't attack. Obviously, if they don't attack, that's good. But if you hold this card up, I think, and your opponent attacks you, I think this card's going to be a blowout. I don't think there's a situation, unless it's like super late game. I don't think there's a scenario where this card doesn't totally blow out your opponent and just totally swing the game.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, on that note, shall we move on to our rare slots?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
I think Adam, you might have an idea of what I might have picked here. All the people might know. It's not like I've been talking about her forever. But I'm not picking Toph because
I didn't
we're
think
talking
so.
about
Yeah.
we're talking about who we want to see in limited, and I love Toph, the first metal bender specifically. However, I don't think it's going to be very good in limited at all because in Commander you have to build around it, and that's just not really something that you have the luxury of in limited. Worrying about your pulls. So Toph, I love you, and I'm gonna absolutely gush if I do pull one, but this is not what I'm looking for at the rare slot. What I am looking for in my rare slot is Waterbender Ascension. It is 1 in a blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, draw a card. It has Waterbending 4. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Now this card right here, for 2 mana, if you can get it down, if you're splashing in red, get some quick damage. It gets quest counters for every. It's not just whenever you deal damage to a player. It's whenever a creature deals damage. So if you have a lot of creatures that are dealing damage, you're going to get those quest counters up quick, and then you're just drawing cards off of every single creature that's hitting. You can draw cards. It can be a big finisher. So once you get to that like middle to late stage of the game, you have everything you need to, push out your win. And just as like an extra flavor, the Waterbending 4, it's not a tap ability, and you can just start making creatures unblockable. So if you have the mana to sink into it, you can make multiple creatures unblockable. And again, it's a Waterbending, so you can tap artifacts to pay for it. You maybe don't want to tap creatures if you wanted to attack with them, but I feel like this thing just does so much at 2 mana. If you can get this down beginning of the game, no one's going to really think too much of it. They'd be like, oh, you have to get 4 quest counters, and then you can just, draw like a card or whatever. I feel like it's going to kind of go under the radar, and there's not a crazy amount of enchantment removal, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel like as a finisher, I would love to see Waterbender Ascension. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, no, I agree. Waterbender Ascension is, I think, a card that's going to see a lot of commander play as well. It's got what commander players like to see, where it has a game plan and then it has a semi-efficient way of getting there. So, like, obviously, if you have unblockable creatures and you're already on the plan, Waterbender Ascension is going to be awesome in decks, like I said, that run a lot of small evasive creatures. But it also, even if you don't have the small evasive creatures that have specifically unblockable, you can give them unblockable. Like, yeah, the Waterbend 4 is not great. That kind of is pretty bad. Like, if you're using that Waterbend ability, I don't know that you're always going to be in the best position. But this card will let you kind of crawl back from behind. If you're down life in a game or you're down permanence and you play this will get up to 4 quest counters pretty quickly, especially if you're using the Waterbend ability. So I don't hate it.
I think the one big thing that is good about the Waterbending is that it's not a tap, so you can at least do it multiple times. I don't even think it feels that bad because think about it. What if you make Combustion Man unblockable? Like there's big. I'm just saying, like there's so many 4+ power creatures. there's plenty of creatures in this set that you would love to make unblockable. So I don't even think, because I'm talking like late game. Like obviously, Waterbending 4 is not something you're going to want to pay early unless you just have, you know,
Yeah.
artifacts. If you have like a lot of clues, you can just tap your clues and then there you go. So I feel like really depending on your board state, it isn't going to feel as bad as it looks. Yeah.
Yeah. This card is definitely going to be contingent on, and this is something that I really have no gauge on, how many incidental permanents that you have. Because like obviously waterbending on your opponent's turn, like during their end step to get some value, that's fine because you can you can use all the permanents like the creatures and stuff that you left untapped, or stuff that it's not going to matter if it's tapped during their end step. But this one you have to use during your turn to make it unblockable. So I don't love that, but I don't know how many how many small artifacts or like you said clues and stuff are you going to have that you can tap at will, and it's not going to necessarily put you in a super big hole.
Hey, and the one thing I'll say,
I think it could be good.
One thing I'll say, I know that we're talking about limited, but you brought up Commander. You did it in Commander. Waterbending 4, not a tap ability. If politics, just gonna put that out there. If you want to make someone else's stuff unblockable, yeah.
This card is just going to be really good. Like this card is going to see a lot of Commander play because we already love like these coastal piracy type effects, and getting one down turn 2 is nuts.
Yeah. It'd be easy turn 1, honestly, like in blue. Yeah, I mean more like
yeah.
with green, but yeah.
Well, turn 1 you want to be playing your Triton Shorestalker or your 1 mana 1/1 unblockable type thing. So then turn 2 you play this Waterbender Ascension and immediately put a counter on it.
Such a good card. All right, Adam, what do you have for us at Rare?
Oh man, I forgot the words, I think, and then it goes Secret Tunnel. Secret Tunnel. This Secret Tunnel is a land cave, and it reads, this land can't be blocked. Interesting. It taps to add 1 colorless mana, and you can pay 4 mana and tap it, and give 2 target creatures you control that share a creature type can't be blocked this turn.
Okay, you're such a follower. I had the unblockable card, and now you just had to tail. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I totally changed what I was going to say because I thought about how good unblockable would be. Yep. No, but this card, it's not absurd, but it's really nice that it enters untapped and taps for mana. Obviously, this card works really well with earthbending strategies because the land can't be blocked. So if you earthbend it into a creature, then you make a 4/4 and it can't be blocked. That's pretty good. But the ability to make 2 target creatures unblockable for 4 mana late game, and it doesn't come in tapped. So this can 100% win the game for you on the spot. And there's not a whole lot of downside to playing it as a land early game because, like I said, it doesn't enter tapped. I think this card has huge upside potential, very little downside and limited.
Yeah, I think you're right. That is super big. That it's an untapped land. It's so weird because I remember when they first spoiled this and I looked at it and I'm like, wow. I mean, it makes sense in this set with the earthbending, whatever. But man, that is so weird. Just a land with a built-in unblockable. That is crazy work by Wizards.
Yeah, it's such a weird. It's definitely interesting.
But there we go again with the flavor. My combustion man, I'm gonna be breathing all over my opponent. You're gonna be secret tunneling to meet your opponent. I don't know. This is gonna be such a fun. Oh, this is gonna be so much fun. I am excited. Well, I won't say I'm excited to see that card if they make it big and attack with me unblockable, but I'm excited for you to hopefully play it.
Yeah, I hope I can pull it. It's gonna be hard.
All right, let us get into our last rarity slot before our wild cards. This is going to be our mythics. So the mythic that I chose is going to be Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong. Maybe I have something for these big mana spells. So it's 6 colorless for a legendary artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it to scry 2. Also, it's legendary. And whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Do this only once each turn. And the important thing to say about this one, when it comes to the rulings, is that free cast comes after the scry. So, you do your scry, you can choose what goes on top, cast it for free. And it has the scry 2 built in, which is really great. So it kind of takes out the guessing a little bit. Hopefully, even if the first thing on the top of your deck isn't great, maybe moving on, it'll be good. But man, getting free casts is pretty damn good. I know this is 6 mana. You have to hard cast this, but hey, if you want to throw in, I'm gonna keep saying it, your combustion man, right? Your big mana spells and just throw them down for free. And hey, the big thing here too is it just says do it only once each turn. So if you can get this thing untapped, which there's definitely plenty of ways. I don't want to say plenty. There's ways to do that in this set. You can untap it and get it off on your opponent's turn. That's 2 things every turn cycle that you're casting for free. Big splash, late game, obviously. That's going to be my pick. What are we thinking, Adam?
I briefly looked at this card, and I don't think I spent enough time reading it because then I would have considered it a lot more for my slot. But yeah, this card is dumb. Um, it definitely is very suited to blue, where you're going to be scrying and manipulating the top of your library a lot. But like blue typically struggles to have these large scale finishers, and this does exactly that. You slam this and you can immediately scry 2 and cast something for free, so you're not super down on value with spending all this mana. And I mean, this is a must answer threat. Really, every single one of the colors that you pair blue with has big mana things that can be really scary. Obviously, the only downside to this is you can only dig too deep with that scry on the planetarium, of course. Planetarium, yeah. So like you only get 2 cards deep, so you already have to kind of have big mana things to cheat out with it. But I think it's gonna be terrifying when I see this come down. I'm gonna be like, and oftentimes you'll have artifacts that your opponents try to answer before turn 6 or whenever you get this planetarium out. So your opponents might not even have their artifact removal. They might have already spent it on something way earlier because they expect, your large finishers to be creatures, right? So they might not, most people won't be holding up artifact removal for this. So you're likely to get multiple activations of this off, which is, love that.
I think this one would just be so fun. And even outside of limited, I know this card's going to see some play in Commander. I know this card's going to, I think everyone knows it's going to see play. This is going to be a problem, I think. But,
yeah.
Hey, that's for, well, actually, we probably should have said this earlier. This episode is dropping the first day of pre-release weekend. So I would say next week or this weekend. I don't know. The point is this card is going to be a problem and you guys are going to see it real soon. So, all right, Adam,
Yeah.
what do you got for us at Mythic?
I've got another finisher. Shocker, shocker. This one
Is that a reference?
is one that we have. This is one we have already gushed about on a previous episode. Thomas probably knows. This is Ozai, the Phoenix King. Yeah. If I pull this card, it is over for my pre-release. It is 2 generic, black, red, for a 7/7, already good rate, 7/7 for 6, with Trample, Firebending 4, and Haste. Absurd. Mind you, there's 4 more lines of text on this card. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes red instead. So delete all of the negatives on Firebending. So that Firebending 4 mana, you immediately get 4 of the 6 mana back that you spent to cast Ozai. And then, because that wasn't enough, Ozai has flying and indestructible as long as you have 6 or more unspent mana. I feel like this happens every time we talk about spoilers. But Wizards, what are you doing? Like, you play this for 6, and you immediately get to swing 7 trample damage at an opponent. Then you get 4 mana back. So you just spent 2 mana to deal 7 trample damage to your opponent. And then if you sneeze and have a creature with any sort of firebending, this insanely problematic card now has flying and indestructible. Oh my god. This card is absurd. Like, there is no way you could possibly lose the game after casting this card in limited. Like, there is just no way. I need it. Need it right now.
There's not much more to be said that we haven't already said, last time or or just now. I don't know if it's too early to say, and stop me if you think that this is too crazy, but this might be the best card in the entire set. I don't know. I think that this might be like there's no
In
other
limited,
card.
yes. 100%.
In limited, yeah. I mean, even just outside of limited. I mean, because like when we're talking about just a card, like not pairing it with anything, it's hands down. There's not a single other card that can even match this level of production on just one card. And then, like you said, pair it with another firebending creature, whatever. It just gets out of hand. It's too easy for this thing to get out of hand. It's yeah.
6 mana, end the game, is what this card says.
Yeah, basically. Now, hey, if we're talking best card in the set, Ozai is cool and all, but you haven't seen my wild card yet. So let's go into this next one. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what I said with Planetarium, where cast your big expensive finisher. This is the one, and you know what? I take back what I said. Ozai is not even close. Ozai can't even step to the walls of Ba Sing Se. The walls of Ba Sing Se. 8 mana for a legendary artifact creature wall. A 0/30 with Defender and other permanents you control of indestructible. Wizards! What were you thinking? No, but I'm gonna be honest. If I pull this card, it's going in the deck. I don't even care. Like this is one of those, because when I'm playing limited, winning is cool and all, because you'll win like extra packs. But sometimes you really just gotta have fun. And if you pull that big flashy card, like it has to go in the deck. Like when I was drafting, or not drafting, I did it when I was drafting too, so I did it twice. But during the limited event, the sealed event for Edge of Eternities, I pulled Eternity Elevator and Dominion Bracelet. And Dominion Bracelet, I'm like, there's no way I'm ever gonna get this off. And guess what, guys? I got it off, and I won. It was pretty insane. So the walls of Ba Sing Se is obviously no Dominion Bracelet. It doesn't really do a whole lot, but it does so much. All your stuff is indestructible. I mean, I don't think we need to sleep on this card. This is a powerhouse right here, better than Ozai in my humble opinion. And the one thing I'll say is I'm gonna build a commander deck around this bad boy. So if I pull it, I'm 1% of the way there. Adam, what do you think?
As the commander?
Yeah, as the commander. What do you mean? It's the walls of Ba Sing Se. Oh,
Fair enough.
It's gonna be dirty.
Oh, that would be so cool. You could build like indestructible tribal.
Yeah.
So you could. Yeah. Okay. Enough about that. It's definitely an interesting pick. I would. I'm glad you put it in the wild card spot, because I wouldn't actually consider it anywhere else. I want a copy of it for a little spicy brew that I'm coming up with right now, and I think obviously anybody with a Toughness Matters deck wants the Walls of Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
8 mana for 30 toughness is busted. Giving all your other things indestructible is stupid on top of it. Who knows how impactful it'll be in limited, but
I'm gonna make it impactful. I'm gonna show people why they're sleeping on my walls. There's no sleeping in the walls of Ba Sing Se, and they're gonna learn that real quick. Gotta understand. And see, I was so sad too, because this was spoiled like after we recorded our last episode, so we didn't even get to put it in the list. But it's okay, because we're saving it here now. It's my big bomb. It's my finisher, and that's it. It's the walls of Ba Sing Se. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, round us out. I know it's hard to top. I know it's hard to top the walls, but go ahead.
Well, I'm going to show you a card that absolutely takes a dump on the walls of Ba Sing Se. Are you ready?
There are no dumps inside the walls of Ba Sing Se. Yeah.
So do you remember talk about a certain card in Spider-Man Limited? City Pigeon, I believe it was called. It was a 1/1 for 1 white with flying, and when it dies, you make a food token.
Yeah, it
Remember a little
familiar.
bit about that?
It's coming back.
One of the best 1/1s, one of the best 1 mana 1/1s ever printed into Limited.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I
Well,
know.
Wizards
I
decided
know.
to power creep that card so much harder than possible. This is Momo Playful Pet.
Momo.
1 white for a 1/1 legendary lemur bat ally with flying and vigilance. Now, what if I told you there were 3 more lines of text on this card?
Ooh.
What if I told you there were 4?
Ooh,
What if I
4?
told you there were 7 more lines of text on this 1
7?
mana 1/1 with flying and vigilance.
All right, let's hear him.
Momo also says, when Momo leaves the battlefield, choose one. Create a food token, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, or scry 2. There are just so many words on this 1 mana card, and like, it's a 1 mana 1/1 with flying and vigilance. I would play that card any day of the week if it was just that. But then you get all this advantage. You can make a food token, which you can then use to waterbend with things. You can use it to gain life. You can, you can put the 1/1 counter on a creature, make another creature you have bigger. You can scry 2 and set up. This card single-handedly makes me want to play White and Limited. Like,
No, that was me. I did that.
this is this is so pushed for no reason. I don't. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think you can get that much better. I mean, you can. It's the walls of Bossing say, but Momo flies pretty close. Not quite
Well,
over
you know
the
what
wall.
the walls of Bossing say. That does fly over the walls.
Barely. With help from Aang. He gets airbended over the
No.
walls. Yeah.
Momo Playful Pet can fly over the walls of Bossing Say and still hit you for 1 with
Well,
vigilance.
Okay, well, we're talking about, in the game, maybe. But lore.
Yeah.
Nah, we're talking about lore. And I think that my opponent's going to respect the lore. If I have the wall and they have Momo, they'll be like, yo, you got me. You got me. I can't. Damn it. Oh, he had the wall. Oh. Yeah. But, wow, this set is really... It's been blowing my mind every single day since however long ago that I think it was day one that Toph was spoiled, and ever since then it's just I couldn't believe it because I had been so excited for it, and they're just blowing it out of the water day by day with all these cards, and it's gonna play so well in limited, in the pre-release, in drafts, in Commander. It's gonna be nuts, and I'm so ready. We're so close, Adam. We are so close.
Get this pre-release kit in my hands right now, please.
Yeah. Hey, if you pick Aang, maybe you'll have your little Momo in there.
Nope, still going Zuko.
Okay. Well, that I think is gonna do it for this episode. Good luck to everybody on your pre-releases. Let us know in the comments if you did them, how they went, who you picked, and we will post some updates for us. I need to spend the next couple days get my cosplay ready. I have to show out for my set. And yeah, we are just so excited. If you guys pull anything cool, let us know. We'd love to feature it or something. I just everything we can do for this set, that's what I want to do. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Yeah, me too. This set, oh god, I'm so excited. I think everybody is. The general consensus on this set is pretty good. So,
all right. Thank you guys for joining us this episode, and we look forward to having you on the next one. Again, going to keep pushing it. Our 100 giveaway. We're getting so close every single day, and we are really excited to give away that beautiful playmat. And Adam, did you have anything else for us before we knock this one out?
well, the one notable thing is the way we're going to be picking winners for the 100 giveaway. We're going to be picking one winner from each of our social medias, so Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and then we will be taking those 3 winners and then choosing one from among them. So if you are subscribed to our YouTube, you are following us on Instagram, and you are following us on TikTok, that gives you 3 whole chances to win the playmat. So make sure you're subscribed and following on all platforms for the best chance possible to win the super awesome Edge of Eternity's MagicCon Atlanta exclusive playmat.
And we'll have some more details too, because I think we want to do something a little fun to help pick a winner. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for that also.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys on the next one.
Later.